No, it's Cola Zero.
We are live. I'll just do like this. Hello, everybody. I am looking at the replay. I see we don't have any viewers right now. We are ready to start the webinar, but before we're waiting for people to arrive, we talk about the weather. So we will a quick report, a weather report from our centers. So we start with the Netherlands. Ben, how is the weather where you are?
It's actually very fine. So I'm located in Wageningen, where the weather is superb.
Superb. And how is it in Oslo, Arne?
Yes, it's
Arne,
blue skies and sun.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now we have record warm weather. I think like it will be 30 degrees here today, and that's a record in the last 70 years. I think the last time we had that warm weather was in 1947.
Oh my goodness.
So it's nice summer.
My goodness. Yes. How is it? You're in the Czech Republic, Karel?
Yes, I'm currently in Czech Republic. Yes, and weather is good. We have nice warm weather, so seems that very pleasant.
Yes, and Wolfgang in Germany.
I've just looked on my
How is it?
iPhone how the weather outside is. It's cloudy today, and we have now 22 degrees, and it's not so hot than yesterday. But tomorrow we will have 28 degrees again. So I'm a little bit cool to do the webinar.
Okay, you're cool. Well, let me tell you. So where I am right now is in the Arctic, so above the Arctic Circle. Yesterday we had 32 degrees. It was like we were boating, and I was holding my arm out, and it was like having a hairdryer, warming. It was incredible. Today is more normal, around 18 degrees. Anyways, I think with that, we are start the webinar with that weather report. So welcome everybody to this webinar about APIs and all about APIs. It's a webinar in the Inspire Hackathon. We are Hackathon right now. It's a virtual hack. And as part of this hackathon, we are organizing a set of webinars where you will be introduced to the different resources we have. We will try to help you be creative in sketching out problems and challenges, and want you to participate in this super exciting hackathon. So with that, my name is Bente Lilja. I am from Norway. I participate in a project called NextGEOSS, but I am also here now on behalf of Plan for All, which is the main organizer of the Inspire Hackathon. A whole bunch of others, which you learn about. We will do a tour de table, and then I will give you some ideas about how this webinar will be running after that. So with that, Ben, I will start the way you appear on my screen. So Ben Schaap, can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about what you do?
I'm a researcher from Wageningen University and research, and I work in the GODAN Secretariat as the research lead. So I'm seconded by the Ministry of Agriculture to play a role in GODAN, where I coordinate research around different topics that are interesting for our partnership. Our partnership consists of 750 partners worldwide.
So GODAN, what does that stand for? Can you tell us that too?
Global Agriculture, Global Open Data for Agriculture.
Okay, thank you. So Arne, Jørgen. Can you say something about
Yes, hello. Yes, this is Arne Berre from SINTEF in Norway, a research institute where I'm working in the digital area, focusing on system integration and interoperability. So my background is in this area related to the ISO TC211 work since the mid-90s, and also OGC in the areas of geospatial services, and also metadata and data description as well as service description. Application context now is in Horizon 2020 project called DataBio on big data for agriculture, forestry and fishery. And a background for that again is the Big Data Value Association and the Big Data PPP program of Horizon 2020, where I'm coordinating the technical priorities in the Big Data Value Association. So that's
excellent.
the context.
And then we will hear from you afterwards, as well as from Karel. Karel, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Karel Charvat. I am participating in both projects which was already mentioned, NextGEOSS and DataBio, also Polyvisu and other project activities which are relevant, and I am also here representing Plan for All. Maybe I can tell a few words of Plan for All, because this is very close to our hackathons. Plan for All was established as association to guarantee sustainability of the result of the project, because what we recognize that after end of the many projects, the result and data soon disappear. So we agreed establish on the end of some project this association, which is now growing. We have almost 50 members worldwide, and this Inspire Hack is one from our activities.
Excellent. And we will hear more about Inspire Hackathon just shortly. But before that, Wolfgang, can you introduce yourself too?
Yeah, my name is Wolfgang Ksoll. I'm the in situ guy here. I'm a former miner, and I have the license to use the sledgehammer. But nowadays I work for Viderum, and we are an open knowledge foundation company, and we make projects with CCAN. And so we have in NextGEOSS the data hub or the catalog with CCAN implemented, and we use an OpenSearch interface, which I will describe later.
Yes, thank you, all of you. We are so happy that you are contributing to this hackathon. It's really, really valuable for us. And but before I give the floor to Karel, who will start this webinar with telling you more about the Inspire Hackathon itself. And then afterwards, I'll go through the agenda now. Afterwards, Arne, Jørgen, Berre will introduce you to a plethora of Earth observation we have at our hands. Then Ben will talk about the agricultural perspective and give an overview of the APIs that they are managing and using. And finally, we will have Wolfgang, who will go deeper down into one of the OpenSearch used by CCAN. So that's the program for this webinar. After each of the presentations, we encourage you to ask questions, and we will have a Q&A towards the end as well. But if there are some questions in that you for clarification and so on, please do write us in the chat box that you will have on your right-hand side, I believe. So you can start. It would be awesome, by the way, if you could tell us where you come from. In the chat box, say hi and where you useful for us, and so that we get to know each other. Building activities we are doing, so please go ahead and say where you're from, which country or which organization. That would be great. And other than that, feel free to comment or ask questions, and I will, while the speakers are presenting, I will try to capture your questions and then give you some airtime in between the presentations. So with that, I think we are ready to start. and learn more about the Inspire Hackathon itself. Karel, I give you the floor.
Yes, I am working to switch my my screen. Oh, this is not the right thing. Do you see my presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, so I will start with some introduction of Inspire Hack. The history start 2 years ago on Inspire conference in Barcelona, where we start with the first Inspire Hackathon. I am now very happy that I am using this slide for the introducing of Inspire Hack, that the community around Inspire Hack is growing, and that today I had already problem to put all logos on the screen, and I had to minimize the logos because the community around Inspire Hack is growing, and I hope that some from you in next time will also cooperate with us. As I mentioned, we start with Inspire Hack 2 years ago, and this first time we organized this as a real hackathon for on the Inspire conference. But then we decided to change a little our model, and I will now introduce you into our model, and I will also try to help you to participate on our hackathon. First, I would like to mention what I mentioned many times before, that Inspire Hackathon is not event, it is process. And the goal of this process is to support sustainability of result of European projects, different activities, and to build community who will work together and who will try to reuse what was already done and improve this for the future. In our hackathon, we are not so much focused, we are not excluded, but we are not so much focused on startups or students, but we are focused on experts. I think that this is the difference. We are trying to connect experts from different projects, different companies, and different countries to try to do something together and to reuse data and build some new businesses. So Inspire is used as a platform, but currently we are not organizing this hackathon only on the Inspire conference, but we are organizing set of Inspire hackathons during the year related with different events. Like, for example, we had hackathon on OGC meeting in Orleans, and could be that in the future we will do something with you, and with some your event we can organize this type of hackathon. We are mainly organizing this hackathon as a little more virtual events where people are working before this event and trying to put something together. On the main event, only demonstrate the result and tell us experiences with the tools, the data. In the case of this year, it will be APIs. What are the experiences, what is plus and what is the minus. So in reality, Inspire Hackathon already start, and the first teams are formed, and I hope that the teams will grow and that also you will join our activity. I will try now to explain how you can participate. As on the portal of Plan for All, you can find the projects which already start to be formed. Currently, today is only one project on the web pages, but in our repository are already prepared to other, and I hope that tomorrow they will be also available. So you can check every time on the web pages which teams already start to prepare something, and to help you, we are also promoting this all projects through social media, so you can see on the social media if some new projects are coming. You can see the table of available apps which was already registered and offered us the potential tool or data sources for our hackathon. So here you can find the link where all APIs are mentioned. And if you have some interesting APIs which is not included, or you can also register your APIs on our web pages, and these APIs will come to the list, and then you can speak with other people about the possibility how to integrate your APIs into different applications. So this is some start or preparation. Then if you will decide to join some team, some activity, at first you have to register yourself on our form. When you will be registered on our form, you will receive the access to Workspace. Workspace is simple Google document, and anybody who is preparing some proposal is putting information there, and you can add your ideas into this project, so you can look who is coordinating this project. You can contact, you can put there your name and your ideas, and start in this virtual space exchange some initial idea. Later you can speak with the colleagues using different technology, or you can put your own project into the list, and this project will appear in 2-3 days on 24 pages, and all people will know that there is some other team, that there is some other interest to do something. And as I mentioned, we will immediately also distribute your ideas to social space, and you can be contacted by other people, and you can start work on the ideas. So this is briefly from my side how to participate on Inspire Hack and what is Inspire Hack. And I think that I will now move to other people to continue with other presentation.
Thank you much, Karel. Just for those who did not see the presentation, it went off a little bit. Don't worry, we'll post a presentation on the webpage of Plan for All, and with some luck, we might be able to include replay of this video. So when you register for this, you will automatically get a of this webinar. Okay, so the next one is Jørgen, and we see your screen. And so now we will learn about Earth observations and the vast numbers of opportunities we have to make use of open data. So Arne, Jørgen, I see you are showing part of your screen at least.
Okay, so you don't see my whole presentation. I have showing now a first slide here, DataBio components and data sets, Earth observation resources, and the link to GEOSS data sets. You see that?
We just see the all of your, so I don't think you can use the presentation mode. If you are trying presentation mode, it's not working.
Jørgen, I think you need to select a different screen, because you already are in presenting mode, but then it appears in a different screen. So if you click once more on data sharing.
Let's see here. I can do that.
And while waiting for that, can I think that I will remind everyone to unmute, no, to mute yourself while Arne Jørgen is presenting.
Right.
So did you unshare and try to share again, Arne Jørgen?
Yeah, let's see if this works.
So sometimes these you can choose from. So when you share your screen here, it's coming up again. And it's better. It's a PDF this time, or?
Let's see if I can show it again here now. You see the same now if I'm showing the presentation. Maybe try, because I have only one screen.
The different type of. You only have one screen. Okay, so then I suggest you open your presentation for PDF, PowerPoint, and then you you have just one slide in the front, and then you have the rest of the slides on the left-hand side.
Yeah, which is what you see
because
now.
Because that's the biggest.
Yeah,
sorry, may I help?
No. We see.
So if you go back to the icon for screen sharing and you click on, if you turn it on, you get the option menu, which pages you want to show.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah. Yes.
And then you should select the screen that shows PowerPoint slideshow.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I've been doing twice now. That was not working, obviously. Application window, maybe I show my entire screen at least, and let's see if that works. So now you should see my entire screen, I think.
It's coming, yes. Not yet for me. It seems to be slow. Anybody else seeing the screen?
No, I don't see.
Nope.
Or this?
No. No. Normally we get like before we get the black screen. Not Marie-Françoise. Yes, no. So what worked? But I think the screen that you chose the first time, Arne Jørgen, bet if you choose another view form for the PPT with just, okay, here it comes. Some are no. Okay, we are clicking fingers here. And we have a repeat this interesting infinity view.
See it there?
It's an infinity view. This might not be the right one. I don't think it's the right screen you're sharing. And he left completely. Now, we lost Ben as well. It seems like they disappeared. Okay, while they are coming back, may I suggest that we give a try with you? We changed the order of the presentations because of the technicalities here. So why not try you then, Wolfgang, and see how we start the other way around with the open source API.
Okay, I will try, and we will look what happens. Okay, can you see me? Can you see me?
We see you. And we see a screen share.
Yeah.
And a screen.
Okay. Okay.
So,
can you hear me?
yes, yes, you can go ahead. So,
yeah, okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
I will go ahead and I will give you an overview of the OpenSearch API in NextGEOSS, and I'll give a short view how to use it. Here's an overview picture. Some of you might know it. What we are doing in NextGEOSS is we are harvesting metadata here from sources of the satellite programs, Copernicus, Sentinel-1 to 5, and some other sources. We are harvesting it with only the metadata, not the data itself, and then we put it into CCAN and make some improvements, for example, ITEX. So if you have a geographic coordinate, we can attach the name of a state or city to the data set. And then the users of the CCAN catalog can use different access methods. You can use it with a simple web browser. You can use the OpenSearch interface, or we have some other APIs which could be used but are not demanded now. The special thing of NextGEOSS is that we have also some 10 plus 10 internal pilots and ramping up some external pilots so that we can create new value of the data we found here on the left side for end user communities from civil society, government, and business. So what we do, for example, here in the agriculture pilot is, and this is done by Vito in Belgium, that we tested the OpenSearch interface with them, and they write metadata were harvested, and so they can query here our catalog. Please show me the data for March to August in a special region in Belgium, and then they get from our CCAN catalog the metadata, and they can have an application with the time series, and the result is that they can, from the images from the Sentinel mission, give advices to farmer how to whether they have to put some more water on the acre, or whether they should have more nutrition. So we think that the possible improvement of the crop will be at 15% by using excuse me, by using this technology. So what we are doing with OpenSearch is, OpenSearch is a standard originally from Amazon. It's in the public domain, open source, and you can find it here, opensearch.org. But for the geo observation, Earth observation, we had to improve it, because you need in Earth observation some data for space and time, and this comes from extensions which the OGC provided, and you can. What I'm saying now is all related to the normal OpenSearch interface plus the extensions from OGC. So if everything is running fine, you can access the OpenSearch interface via HTTPS. No account is needed. And the access via HTTPS makes it easier if you are debugging. You can look at plain text and can see errors until your application or your client is running fine. The first thing, if you access the catalog, is that you download a description document, and the description document says to you what you can find and how you can search for it. The first step is we provide support for collections. That means you have several data sets in one access, and then you make a second step, and then you can download from this collection different files. That is next step here. And if you have selected the right collection and selected in the collection, then you can do a query, and we will have a look on it. And if the query is correctly, semantically and syntax correct, then you get results in an XML atom feeds format. So this is a usage of OpenSearch in our catalog as we have implemented this, and you can have a look on it. Wait a second. When I find the right button. Okay. You must not read and learn it by heart. What you are seeing here, it's just a demonstration. It's ordinary XML text, and it starts here, I'm OpenSearch, and I'm OpenSearch description, and so on. And then you see a lot of other terms which might be useful for you, and you should have a client which interprets that automatically, or even better, you have a program, as we have tested it with Vito, for example, in the agriculture area. So on the right side here, you see what default search parameters you have, and here you see also that we have some extensions for geo. We have a box that means a bounding box of which is my area of interest on Earth, and we have for geo data.
Yeah.
Pardon?
To interrupt you, sorry to interrupt you, Wolfgang, but I think we have the presentation of Jørgen appeared on the screen instead of yours here. So I think you, if you can, try to share it again. I think that's probably the best, that you overrule Arne. Wolfgang, can you try to do that?
Okay.
To share your screen again. Sorry about this, folks.
Yes, I'm online again. Yeah, we were here on the right side. You see some default search parameters.
Hold your horses. Yes, here we are. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Wolfgang.
Okay. We were here in the geo area. The bounding box, you can determine how the bounding box should be, in which area you want to look. Then we have in the geo observation field universal IDs, so that every picture afterwards or every data set has is identifiable worldwide, and you have the right data set. Then you can here also say what start time you want, what end time you want, and you can even determine, oh, please give me only Sentinel-2 and not Sentinel-4 or whatever you want. So you can choose here your search parameters, as I described it for the agriculture application, and then you get an answer if you are lucky. And as I said, it's always already an XML file, and now you have some atom entries here, and where you can, with a client program or with a dedicated program, select what is necessary for you. In our case, it's normally that you have the URL for the from the metadata for the source data, and then you can download it and make computations in the cloud. And this have we tested with agriculture folks, and we are onboarding some people from ocean applications, and we are working with biodiversity folks, and you see the 10 pilots in the first overview picture. So it is going on in the year, and we will have the final launch of our catalog. And if you have questions, you can send me a mail or ask it now in the here online, and you will have access to this slides when we have put it up. So I will go down. Yeah, okay. That's from my side. Are there any questions?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wolfgang. So you got to see a very concrete API there immediately. So if you have questions now, or you will perhaps have later, do ask in the chat box, and we will to answer them the best we can. I don't see anyone. So I'm just encouraging you, if you have questions for Wolfgang, do go ahead and ask. Now we see a screen share coming on, and that's Arne again giving it a new try. So let's see what we have. Looks much better again. So everybody else, mute yourselves and listen to what Arne Jørgen presents of Earth observation data.
Okay, thank you. So this is further on related to content as well as search opportunities. So obviously in the context of a hackathon, one of the reasons for having this preparation is that we want to look into what data to make available, but also what kind of components and services to make available. What are the sources for this? So there are a lot of sources, including some specialized sources for the activities that we have in the Horizon 2020 context, in particular the DataBio project, but also others. So if you look at the total perspective here, we do have a number of projects that allow us to provide resources in the hackathon context. So let me go further to show what we have here. A starting point is obviously data that has already been made available in the GEOSS context. So the GEOSS portal is an important source of data sets. We heard also about the NextGEOSS project that is providing additional perspectives on this with the CCAN interface. So all of the existing data sets, as well as components and resources made available here, is a starting point. In addition to this, we have a set of projects, and these projects are able to provide resources also. In particular, from the DataBio project perspective, we have a number of resources that can be relevant. This includes components and services.
Can you show us the relevant slide? Jørgen, sorry to interrupt you, but just see the first slide.
Right, okay, so I'm showing the slides here.
Yes,
so
you
let's
need
see
to
how
make sure.
how we can change this
Yeah,
here.
so
let me see, maybe
click on one.
So I see my different slides here.
No, but if
you have the same, let's see. Yeah.
We only the one.
Frozen? Let's see here. It's frozen to the first one. I'm advancing my slide locally here.
So while you are trying to figure it out, Samar is happy to see so many useful links. And I can tell that the links will be available on the Plan for All website. They will be clickable links from the presentations. The way that we are publishing it, we will make sure that they are clickable links, or at very least you will see them, but we will try to make them. So thank you for that, Samar. Arne Jørgen, in this you have it in slideshow mode, and I think this is what we have experienced before as well, that you should have it not in a slideshow mode, but just showing your slides. Here we saw some movement, so if you come down again, yeah, okay.
There, maybe.
With technology, huh?
Yeah, can you see it now? I'm showing this from the PDF.
Let's see, it's coming up. It's coming up. It's a little bit. We see the DataBio components and datasets for pilots and hackathons with arrows.
Right.
That's what we see.
So let's start with that. because I mentioned earlier the GEOSS portal. I can show that briefly afterwards. But in addition to that, we have from this set of projects that is running, a number of projects actually, both components, services, and data sets available that are interesting resources for a hackathon context. So we see here from the DataBio project that we have a number of data sets relevant from agriculture. We have also forestry and fishery. We have a large set of components that falls out all of the areas of the data processing platform mapped here into the big data value reference model. So I'll show that later. In addition, we have a number of pilots already using this, but obviously an opportunity to do further in the context of a hackathon. So these pilots, components, and data sets will be input to the upcoming hackathon. And we will also provide access for browsing and searching on this, as well as documentation. So with different levels of descriptions. For a number of the components, we also have used TOGAF and Archimate to then fairly elaborate models of the whole pipeline of usage of the components to facilitate their reuse and application. We have also followed the BDVA reference model structure, which you should see now, which you can find more details about in the bdva.eu website that talks about the different categories of data processing and data management in a big data environment. And there are some documents on that. It's further details of the link to processing with AI and machine learning and data analytics and different kind of data sharing platforms, and a number of categories of components and services. So this is a starting point for the agriculture pilots, but also for forestry and fishery in this context. And based on that, we are also offering a hub to search in the DataBio components and services. So basically a simple hub with searchable content to find services, components, as well as data sets. That can be used also to go into all of the components in particular from this project, as well as finding an overview of data sets. And there is a number of data sets that have been specializedly selected for the usefulness of a number of pilots. So these are also made available under various conditions. It's not necessarily open data, all of this, because part of it is related to commercial interest, but are still relevant in order to combine open data and data with various restrictions. This includes also access to Earth observation data, Copernicus and Sentinel data through a gateway that is integrated with the FedEU gateway and other gateways, so that it will be ease of access to relevant Earth observation, Copernicus and Sentinel data sets. We have links to various search mechanisms, so we'll learn more about the OpenSearch. We have, as part of one of the projects, a tool called OpenMika, which is integrated with the CSVW catalog service, and also has access to OpenSearch, as we'll hear more about. So there will be a number of registry opportunities for data sets, as well as for the components as we looked at. In addition, a useful perspective is on ontologies and data models. So another project that has finished is Foodie on farm-oriented open data in Europe, and the reference model of the ontology is shown here, which provides a common model for semantic interoperability and data integration that is relevant.
We don't see it, Arne. Arne, we don't see that.
Right, okay.
It's frozen on one.
Okay. Let's see.
Yes, just realized. So you need to click on the left side. Yes, you need to click them like that. It seems like go click
so,
left side and see what happens.
Right, I'm clicking on the left-hand side.
You are? Yeah, so that's funny.
Because it's
because it
changing.
Seems like it was changing.
Let's see if I can see. It seems like in the.
It was changing very quickly, so you did something.
Right. Okay. Let's see if I can restart that again then.
Yeah, because we see some models there.
Okay. Let's see if I can try this.
Normally, it works better with going to give presenters.
Right. So now you see one with 91 components, perhaps?
Yes, we do.
Right. Yeah. So as I started to say a few slides back, we have, in addition to the data sets, also a number of data components that are useful. If I'm changing my view into an example next here, we see a usage example where a number of these pilot components in the various categories has been used in a pipeline. So this is also useful input to the hackathon, where we can see how a set of components can be used together for various purposes of data management and data analysis. And this is also input to the inspiration for the hackathons. So already a number of pilots, 25 or so, 26 here, has been developed using a number of these components, working with a number of data sets. And these can be starting points also for new hackathon experiments. So besides the data sets and components, we also have pipelines showing how these components can be used together with a number of data sets in a combination. So I think it's not really advancing as much here. You see some other slides underneath on the left-hand side, I see. But when I do click forward and select those slides in my local view, it doesn't really advance in the global view for some reason.
No, it doesn't. So for some reason, yeah, but I think it's a PDF will solve this.
That we have a set of resources available. It's a number of data sets, both geospatial and Earth observation related for various domains, also agriculture, but also forestry and fishery. We have the link to the Sentinel data from Copernicus context, as well as a number of components and services that works along the whole value chain here, from data management towards processing and analytics and visualization, aligned with the BDVA reference model for big data platforms. And we have also pipelines of components working in harmony across this overall architecture, which can be input for future hackathon experiments. And that's all documented here, and of course in underlying documents.
Yes, thank you, Arne. I think, again, we will post your presentation on the event page and on Plan for All hackathon page. And we would like to invite you to give the same presentation in August. We will have a new series back of webinars at the last week of August. And if you want to see the whole presentation, not only see the slides, you will have hopefully an opportunity to hear introduce you again then. Okay, so with that, I don't see questions yet. Yes, thank you, Arne. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions yet here, so I will call Ben, who will talk about GODAN and what you do and what you would like others to do with your material APIs.
Yes, I will start my
Can you
slideshow.
unshare, perhaps? Yeah. Okay, you will go overrule Arne. Yeah.
So
it's not coming still. So maybe Arne, can you unshare?
I think this should work. Oh, we'll still see Arne.
Right, I think I'm unshared. And
we are getting a black screen. Something is happening, Ben. It looks like.
Can you see this now?
Yes. Can you see your presentation?
Okay. Great. Okay. Okay, great. So yeah, let me start. I titled my presentation Global Data Ecosystems for Agriculture and Food. And I will tell you a little bit more about the GODAN initiative itself, and then some more about the context of data sharing and the global data ecosystem. And then I give you a little bit information about our partners who are developing data sharing technology, of which APIs is one component. So what is GODAN? So GODAN is an initiative that started at a G8 conference in 2013, and it was established by the United States, the UK, and the Netherlands government to advocate, support, and enable global efforts to make agricultural and nutrition data available, accessible, usable for unrestricted use worldwide. And we comprise of a voluntary partner network, and we are now more than 750 partners spread around the world. And we have some donors, mainly governments like the US government, the UK government, and the Netherlands government, but also supported by some international organizations like CGR, FAO, and CTA. To give you an impression, this is it gives you an impression on how diverse our partnership is. We have a lot of different type of organizations, from universities to private sector companies like Syngenta, IBM, but also governments. You can see the flags spread around this sheet. Actually, not all partners fit on the sheet. But it's good to see that it's a big variety, and we try to advocate for open data together with those partners. So the secretariat, where I'm based at, is trying to give those partners resources to do the advocacy with us. And now we'll tell you a little bit more about a specific component of what we do together with our partners. So if you look at the agricultural system, you see that there are nowadays many different type of data integrations happening on the farm, with of course satellite data, but also soil data, weather data, farm data, user data, small sensor data. So we have like on-farm data is really already a very complex business, and we look at it like this a little bit. This is the pyramid of wisdom, we call it. So at the top you have the user domain, But if you go to the bottom of the pyramid, you see data as the raw material, but data in itself doesn't do anything. It can be satellite data, sensor data, but without any context, it doesn't do anything. So from data, we have to include meaning to it. And that means we need to use semantics, linked open data, models, and data analysis to add any meaning to it to make it information. But that doesn't do anything for a user. So we need to create systems that support decision-making. So that can be scenarios, impact assessments, decision support systems, or integrated models. And then a user needs to have trust in those systems and be able to make decisions based on those systems. So, for example, if you take a crop system model which advises on pest use, you do want to have a decision support system that effectively, using data, gives a good decision support that is reliable and profitable for the user. But now, to make this all happen, we also need some cross referencing between those steps in this user domain, or in this pyramid of wisdom. We need to have standards to be able to talk to be able to let the data talk to each other. So you can combine different type of information in those systems. We need visualization tools, contextualization. And we said, well, our partners actually said, we need to look at it as a global data ecosystem for data. I will skip this slide for a minute. So together with, I will highlight this. So Syngenta asked us to work with us to create a vision on this global data ecosystem. At our 2016 summit, the Syngenta corporate said, well, we have to move outside of the silos. Collaboration is not a luxury, but a necessity. And our future company success depends on our ability to use open data. So then we set off to create a vision on the global data ecosystem for agriculture and food. And we looked at what elements are used to, or can we use to make this vision a reality. And one of the key principles we used are, of course, the fair data principles, the findable, accessible, and interoperable and reusable principles. And we outlined how this might be implemented. And we had some use cases from other sectors. And we let other partners reflect on this vision. You can find the paper if you click on the link once the presentation is made available. And to give a little bit context on the fair data principles, those are now adopted by the European Commission, and actually they're a crucial element of the European Open Science Cloud, which is actually going to be central in the next FP9 funding program for the European Commission. And actually this slide is very special. It's a little bit of a joke, but in the G20 Hangzhou Summit, the fair data principles as a concept made its appearance in the G20 statement, which was a very big surprise because we were advocating for open data to be mentioned in such policy documents, but suddenly the fair data principles appeared there, which is a great success because it's quite remarkable if Hollande says to Putin, we support appropriate efforts to promote open science and facilitate appropriate access to publicly funded research results on findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data, the fair data principles. So this was kind of a very nice surprise, and that shows the global importance of the fair data principles as principles for data sharing. So just to give you a short impression what we concretely do in this domain. So we have a project running that is running parallel to the GODAN Secretariat, and that's called GODAN Action. And in that project, they made a map of standards for agri-semantics. And here you can see that for different domains, there are different standards described, and they're put in a little bit of context so you can have a look and see which standard might fit your application, or to give you a starting point for building your own standard if you need one. So this is like a concrete project output, which is also made available on our F1000 gateway, F1000 research. We have a GODAN gateway, which is open source, where you can find the publications. Another activity is our efforts in helping the soil data community to align on the use of their standards for data exchange. Currently, there are many dormant data repositories, and the soil data is often specialized and very user-unfriendly because you need to know exactly what elements mean what to use soil data very effectively. And there's a lack of technical capacity for data processing in WebGIS. And last but not least, there's a lack of commonly agreed and broadly applied soil data exchange standards. So we try to find alignment within the soil data community by bringing in GODAN partners and partners from the soil data community to actually map out which standards describe which components, and if we can derive a commonly agreed data exchange standard. So we have the OGC that is developing a soil data exchange standard. ISO already did work on soil data exchange, and the Inspire initiative also stipulated their soil data exchange language. So we work together with all the most important soil data partners. So that's soil data. So we are also active in the agricultural data interest group from RDA. There are many of our GODAN partners are active in the working groups associated to this agricultural data interest group. And some of them do interesting work, such as the wheat data interoperability working group, which continued in a rice data interoperability working group. And their researchers associated with GODAN create very good resources to start working on data exchange in the relevant subsectors. One thing I want to mention is the Agro Data Cube, which is a more of a national database with an API. It's an open API based on REST API in GeoJSON format, and it's openly available. The API is fully open source, so you can employ it in your own application. And this is actually quite a nice example of how data is made available in an open and very effective way without too much user hassle. So please also have a look at this link. In the presentation I will share with Bente, I will also include this link as a clickable link. So last but not least, we created a farm data train animation where we outline our vision on how the fair data principles may be used in an agricultural context. it's a visionary animation, but it shows very well what our challenges are and why we should invest in the fair data principles. So this is really a long-term vision, and the purpose of this animation is to inspire you to contribute to this goal. So to conclude, so for Syngenta, open data acts as a lubricant for innovation, and it can break up silos and speeds up innovation a lot. And it's good to have such a partner very vocal about this. So they really are leading. And we have demonstrated that we need the fair data principles and the open data concept to work on this global data ecosystem in the future. And to be clear, the European Open Science Cloud, as it is launched by the European Commission, it's not only for science, it's specifically also created to interface with the private sector. So we should also create those data exchange interfaces, such as APIs, to support also the private sector in creating data-intensive applications. And then I think it's a question for us in this group. Do we have the capacity in terms of human and financial resources for distributed data sharing mechanisms and sustainable use of data exchange APIs? So maybe that's we can discuss that question later. Thank you. This was it.
Thank you so much, Ben. That was really interesting to hear about. And I would like to, so the fair data sharing principles has become data, I have noticed. For you who are familiar with the Earth observation community, so the group of Earth observation, this group has been working on open data sharing principles for quite some time. And I think we are adhere to the FAIR principles. And I see a very good development of everything open data sharing. It's not only observation data, it's all sorts of data, governmental data. You have the Inspire, which started to be open data sharing between governments in Europe. But their data, some of the data, most of the data, I would say, dare say, in between themselves and not open to the public. More and more now we see that they are sharing the data. And I think what we have an interest in, and what this Inspire Hackathon and what we are all interested in here is to make use of this openly available data and inspire the continued applications of the FAIR sharing principles. So with that, just to link the work with open data sharing in the Earth observation with what you presented now from the agricultural perspective, Ben. Do we have any questions from the audience? Please do write. We have seen interest in the presentations and the links in the presentations, so that's very good. We hope to see as many of you as possible, creating some sketches and some ideas on what you'd like to do with the data that are made available and the other sources that are made available. It's not only data, there are other resources as well. And here is, of course, the API, a way that we can combine this easily and openly combine all resources. Yes. Any other comments from the presenters? Please go ahead and interrupt me. Comments? And no more questions. Okay. Thank you much. Do attend. We have a webinar tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Some information will be the same. And we will also talk about other types of APIs tomorrow. And we will also talk about security, how you can combine different data with APIs for different security purposes. So those are the topics tomorrow. And we encourage you to sign up, to register for the webinar tomorrow as well. And if you cannot attend, you will get the replay eventually from the webinars. So for July webinars, and then I will also like to remind you about the webinar we will have at the end of August. So you will get more information about the resources available, and like the idea is that you come up with ideas on how to use all these resources. Okay, I have a question now before we go. Thank you. I wanted to know how to use all these resources to support small holders. Anybody, Ben, maybe you have some ideas around that? Or anybody else, maybe Karel as well?
Well, yeah, I can mention a little bit about the use of these data infrastructure for smallholders. I think we advocate for global data that is available worldwide. So we would like to see that our open data resources are not only made available in Europe, but also on a global level. So we really focus on global data sets. But critically is also the intermediate steps that need to be done to make this data available for smallholders. And we see that there are many different data intermediaries that use the data infrastructure in different ways. And currently there's a lack of capacity in many countries with smallholders to really create meaningful applications that are based on stable data resources. So this is, I think, critical. It's not easy, but we see some good examples of applications that provide really good support to smallholders, like farm information with weather information, so decision support with weather data, but also with index-based insurance. So these are kind of, yeah, really meaningful applications that really make a difference.
Yes, this is a challenge, I guess, for smallholders, and I don't know much about exactly talking about it, but I can imagine that there are areas that are not linked where you're not to internet necessarily, and that's maybe another challenge. But there are some initiatives and services in the Earth observation community called Servir. I think that's leading that. I will write the name in here in the chat box. Servir by NASA, and we have to provide some data, but mainly for crisis management, disaster risk reduction type of activities, but lots of capacity building in that. So that might be some value to the smallholders. I'm not quite sure if I'm hitting the target, but I'm mentioning that. So, Karel, do you have any other maybe you have knowledge about, or did Ben cover it for you?
I think that using global open data, the main resource which I know is used for farmers are the data from satellite, from Landsat and Copernicus. These data are very often used already for farmer purposes, for recommendation for precision farming. I think that this data set are known and used by a number of developers. Yes, the question is to look for other ideas and better application how to do, and for this I see as important to provide exchange of information.
Yes. So you could say maybe an idea that you want to be followed up in this hackathon. This hackathon could possibly help you with that. So you see all the resources that, Karel
as
and
I know,
mentioned.
Till now it is not published on our web pages, but I know that Dmitry came with the idea to use meteorological Copernicus data for tourist information systems, yes, to advise tourists where to go, what could be the climate and such kind of application. So there is already one such idea on our hackathon.
Okay, that's good. And meanwhile, we got a long comment and question from Wisdom, and I think we should spend time on that. He's an optimist with the global poverty elevation. My optimism is sorely tested when it comes to my beloved birth continent, Africa. So another question from Africa. Because Africa is huge, diverse, and complicated, it is difficult to make sense of what is going on in the continent, how the continent interacts with the rest of the world, and how the West might best pursue its national interest and the global common good in its relationship with Africa. The recent published report from the Africa Growth Initiative at the Brookings Institution, Foresight Africa, Top Priorities for the Continent 2016, serves as both a filter, selecting what from the mass of data is helpful to the sense-making enterprise, and a key unlocking insights by offering interpretation of filter data to this complexity. What do you make of this? What do we make of this? I can tell you, Wisdom, in Earth observations, I will give the floor to you, but in the group of observations in the program board where I'm sitting with GODAN, by the way, we were discussing that it's so much information, and as a user, you are interested in just a subset of this information and data in this context, and how do you find that? And I think that's maybe what we need to try to help people finding the right information and not be found in all the data. Yes. Anybody else wanting to chip? I have some.
Yeah, I think Wisdom makes a very good point.
Anybody else?
I think Wisdom is making a good point. Indeed, we have a growing digital divide between the West and developing communities or worlds. So this is of a growing concern. And if you look at, for example, the agricultural sector, where we don't see an increase in agricultural research spending, while we face a food security crisis, or actually it's a projected crisis. Currently, it's not so bad, but if you look at the challenges ahead, I think there's big challenges ahead, and there's currently not an increase in investments in agricultural research on a global level, also not in the developing sector. So I would say that the international community needs to focus on this research and create the necessary insights, also in the form of data, to make globally available. So that's my broad take on it.
Yeah, I would like to add a sentence.
Yes, I hope you. Yeah.
If I may. So
go ahead, Wolfgang.
I'm an optimist too, and I've seen some smart activities in what is called now Middle Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso. They are creating infrastructures for open data in on different topics. In London, in the Open Data Institute, I met people from Burkina Faso. Now, the other day, I talked about people who made open data in Nigeria, and other people I saw that they were looking on e-health in health in Africa. So in former decades, the West made some mistakes how to support the developing countries, but I think it's has changed a little bit. So the foundations like the Bill Gates foundations are helping the states in Africa to do their things alone. And open data will be one helpful part of these activities. So I'm full optimistic, but I see there's a great gap between the Western countries and the African states now. That's my
I think that in the relation with Africa, I would like to go back to one from previous hackathons from last year, where in the cooperation between the people in Europe and Africa, they start to project Open Land Use for Africa, which is extension of something what was done for Europe. I think that now something like 20% of Africa is covered with this map of open land use, and I am sure that there is interest to cooperate under umbrella of Plan for All. And if there will be interest in Africa, we can also include this as part of our hackathon and try to increase and improve this and cover all Africa with open land use.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point.
Yes, absolutely,
we
Karel.
can use the hackathon as an opportunity now, since we have a couple of months to prepare. We can invite everyone with ideas and needs or requirements, and we can see if we can support that, because this is after all, the idea of having this pre-webinar, collect input and ideas, and we have some time to prepare. So please provide good ideas here that we can use also as input for the hackathon preparation.
Yes, absolutely. So if you don't have a very detailed description of what you need at this stage, please do go ahead and sketch your Ksoll, and then this community participating in the Inspire Hackathon might be able to help. This is the idea by making everything open, is to have ideas and to have sort of recruit experts that are interested in your problem. Sometimes we are trying to match, to have some matching going on here. So please do, Wisdom, please do propose problems or challenges in the Inspire Hackathon, and see if not this actually what we are doing now can help.
Yes, and in the context of Africa, we might also introduce input from the Citizens Observatory and citizen science perspective, as we also have had elements of in previous hackathons, and that can be an interesting combination. So any ideas in that context would be welcomed, and we could try to prepare for that for the forthcoming webinar and hackathon.
Yes, actually, if you have ideas, we will be happy to provide also with webinar addressing specific problems. We have done this before in the Inspire hackathons that are presenting presenting their challenges. And so this could be one way of interact. And I totally agree with you, Wisdom, here that needs to find its own solutions. But like everybody else, like we in Europe also, or in America, whatever, we need to collaborate globally. But ownership will be at the location, not only the continent, but actually on the very local location. So it start with you guys, Angles, writing the proposal in the using this platform, the Inspire Hackathon, as a platform to interact and have ownership to your problem. And it's free and open. Yes, okay. So the information, I will read it out so that we have this recorded, Wisdom. Thank you so much for your engagement. The information revolution that is sweeping the rest of the world is now rapidly approaching Africa. The conference is recognizing its opportunity, the opportunities and complexities of the information society, while the impact of this revolution is tremendous. The existing infrastructure, socioeconomic, cultural, and political situations pose many difficulties in introducing, implementing, and diffusing new technologies for internet networking. The major problems are not technical, but managerial, political, and also due to the lack of data and resources. Thus, Africa needs, and I got some, I need to, sorry, needs to find its own, and that's what I picked up on, Wisdom. Solutions to little problems. It looks like it's getting worse. Our leaders are just not ready to listen. Corruption, 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 as usual, you say. Well, the open data and as Arne Jørgen also mentioned, the citizen science and citizens observers is another way for, it's an opportunity for to overcome corruption. And it's an additional and complementary approach in places with less corruption, to put it that way. So it's what we are doing in the Inspire Hackathon is meant to be open, and it is open, and open is really a core value here. Okay, so Wisdom saying, I am currently working on a hackathon for IATI, and I will be glad to share the experience. Yeah, very happy to hear more of that, Wisdom. I know IATI, so if you could write, if you could write the acronym, that will be also helpful. And you can join us again tomorrow. Or later, and exchange emails with us and communicate with us on Plan for All, and you can follow up that way as well.
Okay. I would like to mention one more thing in relation with this. In November, there will be a Research Data Alliance and Data Conference in Gaborone in Africa. So maybe that this could be the chance to share African ideas, and I plan to come to Gaborone for this event.
Right. So that's a potential from an outcome of a team or 2 or 3 or 4, how many in the Inspire Hackathon. So this is like Karel often says, the Inspire Hackathon is not an event, it's a movement. So it's something that is going continuously on, and we are not just letting go of good ideas. Anything else before we close this webinar? No. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, each and every one of you presenters and speakers. Obviously, apologies for the technical problems. We hope you will forgive us when you see the material posted on the Plan for webpage and the Hackathon, Inspire Hackathon webpage more particularly. And we certainly hope to see you again in future webinars. So thank you so much,
Bente,
everybody.
I would like to thank you for organizing this webinar for us. So,
yeah, thank you very much. Very good.
okay.
Thank you.
So see you tomorrow or on next event, and bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.